Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
How do you experience emotion? How do you approach emotions in your life? I remember I was talking with a therapist once and just telling her about how I felt so bothered by my sadness and my anger and worry. I just wanted to fix them and make them go away so that I could be good and normal again. Do you know what she told me? She said, there are no good and bad emotions. Emotions are indicators of what's going on in our lives, and they're part of how we process things. They help us and they guide us. I was so startled by that. Like, what do you mean it's okay and even helpful to feel sad or angry or worried? I joked later that she was lying to me, but I came to realize that she was telling the truth. Emotions can feel uncomfortable, especially in the Western world. I would say it's becoming more socially acceptable to express emotions, but we can still feel nervous about it, and we can feel awkward when other people do. We can be suspicious about emotions. We don't always know how to engage well with them. Spiritually, I could take emotions like sadness and anger and just assume that they indicated a weakness of faith. Joy felt like the right answer. I was a master of spiritual bypassing, or minimizing my uncomfortable feelings so that I could skip straight to just trusting God or just pray about it. Unfortunately, that approach is not realistic for the broken world we live in. And thankfully, God doesn't expect us to just bypass our feelings. Out of abundant grace, we have so many people who came before us who were unashamed to express their pain, which gives us an example of how to do so. There is so much to lament in this broken world: death, destruction, dehumanization, oppression, abuse, injustice, sickness, mental health challenges. The fact that we have real worries and responsibilities, and there is just so much outside of our control. There's much to mourn, much to be angry about. And we can understandably have questions for the God who created this world and who we believe to be powerful and sovereign. This week, we're going to read through Lamentations. I'm going to be honest. I have looked at this book time and time again thinking we should go back to it, but I've avoided it. It's hard to talk about grief. It's hard to talk about pain and lament. But these books, this literary genre in the Bible, has so much to teach us about grief, pain, seeking God, emotion, expression, and working through our questions and doubt to find hope. We're going to look at this book and this literary genre as well as what we can take from the book practically to use in our own practice. Hey, this is Jen. You're listening to the Bible for Busy People, and we're going to be starting in the book of Lamentations today. Now, Lamentations is a book of poetry that expresses the pain of the Israelites after Babylon destroyed Jerusalem and captured its people to live in exile. This took place 500 years after Solomon built the temple in a city established by his father David in a land that had been promised to Abraham long before David. Lament poems happen elsewhere in the Bible, and they were also really common to the culture at the time. This was a way of helping the people process their grief and loss and frustration and confusion with God. The Bible Project mentions that each of the first 4 chapters of the book are acrostic poems, with each line starting with a letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which has 22 letters. The Bible Project says this very ordered and linear structure is a stark contrast to the disordered pain and confused grief explored in the poems. It's like Israel's suffering is explored A to Z, trying to express that which is inexpressible. Let's start in Lamentations 1. It says, "How deserted lies the city, once so full of people. How like a widow is she, who once was great among the nations. She who was queen among the provinces has now become a slave. Bitterly she weeps at night. Tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers there is no one to comfort her. All her friends have betrayed her. They have become her enemies. After affliction and harsh labor, Judah has gone into exile. She dwells among the nations. She finds no resting place. All who pursue her have overtaken her in the midst of her distress. The roads to Zion mourn, for no one comes to her appointed festivals. All her gateways are desolate. Her priests groan, her young women grieve, and she is in bitter anguish. Her foes have become her masters. Her enemies are at ease. The Lord has brought her grief because of her many sins. Her children have gone into exile, captive before the foe. All the splendor has departed from daughter Zion. Her princes are like deer that find no pasture. In weakness they have fled before the pursuer. In the days of her her affliction and wandering, Jerusalem remembers all the treasures that were hers in days of old. When her people fell into enemy hands, there was no one to help her. Her enemies looked at her and laughed at her destruction. Jerusalem has sinned greatly and so has become unclean. All who honored her despise her, for they have all seen her naked. She herself groans and turns away. Her filthiness clung to her skirts, and she did not consider her future. Her fall was astounding. There was none to comfort her. Look, Lord, on my affliction, for the enemy has triumphed. The enemy laid hands on all her treasures. She saw pagan nations enter her sanctuary, those you had forbidden to enter your assembly. All her people groan as they search for bread. They barter their treasures for food to keep themselves alive. Look, Lord, and consider, for I am despised. We're stopping there about halfway because I only have a short amount of time, but you can go back and read the whole thing. You do get kind of a sense for the lament, the pain, the grief, the frustration. The Torah.com points out similarities in Lamentations to cultic laments of other cultures at the time, that the city is personified as a woman. They ask the question repeatedly, how? A wrathful God allows enemies in. It talks about a day of destruction, which means the whole period of time. It doesn't necessarily mean one day. And there's the imagery of a fox to represent the desecration of a city. We've talked about this chapter before concerning the literary genre of lament, and something I noticed then was the physical aspect of this poem. Weeping, groaning, reaching out hands, which makes sense because pain is not just mental or physical or emotional, they're all intertwined. Sometimes our agony can only be expressed physically. It reminds me of Romans 8:22 through 23, which says, "We know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time. Not only so, but we ourselves who have the first fruits of the Spirit groan inwardly as we wait eagerly for our adoption to sonship, the redemption of our bodies." Also, that the expressions are both individual and communal. The grief is felt on a personal level, but also in community with others. And sometimes that's the way we lament, is in community with others. Sometimes it's on our own, just between us and God. Do you regularly practice lament? What is a way that you can incorporate it into your personal faith walk or in community? And if you don't know, we're going to be talking about it later this week. Thanks for chatting with me. Let's talk again tomorrow. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to assume two things about you. First of all, that you're a busy person, and second, that you are in need of a restful break. Cannon Beach Conference Center is the place for a beautiful coastal retreat, whether it's one of their enriching conferences or your own church or ministry event. You can find out more at 800-745-1546 or visit cbcc.net. Thank you to Cannon Beach Conference Center for sponsoring the Bible for Busy People.
Thank you for listening to The Bible for Busy People. If you need prayer or want to go deeper in your faith, visit our show notes. Will you take a moment to share with a friend and leave a review? It helps the Bible get into even more people's minds and hearts. Find more podcasts that will recharge you at purposely.com.